Hello, all, and welcome back to a new episode of Movies and Us, a weekly gathering place filled with conversations about movies, stories, and connection. My name is Jennifer Hahn.
And I'm Sarah Callan.
And today we are going to be reviewing the latest Boots Riley film, I Love Boosters, and we are joined by a very special guest. He's one of our favorite podcast guests ever. Eric is back, y'all.
Thank you so much for having me on. I'm really excited to talk to y'all about this movie.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. We've had Eric on a bunch of recent episodes, some iconic films, some fun ones, some ridiculous ones, some really emotional ones, sentimental ones. But I Love Boosters maybe gonna kind of have it all too, like all of the above. So we're excited to talk about this. There's much to discuss. So Sarah, do you want to kick us off with a summary for I Love Boosters?
A group of shoplifters take aim at a cutthroat fashion maven by stealing her clothes and reselling them at a lower price, what they call fashion-forward philanthropy.
I love that made it into the IMDb summary.
It's so good.
Is it spelled philanthropy?
Yeah.
Yes, philanthropy is spelled correctly.
Oh.
Because branding.
Yes.
Okay, so in Movies and Us tradition, we start off with our one-sentence summaries. Eric, as our guest, what is your one-sentence summary for I Love Boosters?
I am going to go with dismantling capitalism has never looked so good.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So I love that. I love that so much. So good. Sarah, what is your one-sentence summary?
Mine is, fashion is seasonal, but worker solidarity is forever.
Oh, well played.
The fourth F.
Yeah. My one-sentence summary is America needs justice and color.
Absolutely, it does. Yes.
Okay, so let's start off with kind of our high-level thoughts about I Love Boosters. In this opening section, we won't spoil the film quite yet. And this film is one that is very important, I think, to go in without it being spoiled for you. Very intentionally designed. I know Boots Riley in interviews has talked about how the trailer is designed that way so that you go in without the full expectation of what you're about to experience. So if you haven't watched I Love Boosters yet, we won't spoil it quite yet, but these are kind of our high-level temperature check thoughts on how we felt about the film. So Eric, I'm curious, how did I Love Boosters land with you?
So I kind of going off of your warning to go in without being spoiled. I was introduced to Boots Riley similar to most people with Sorry to Bother You. I think that came out 2017, 2018. And that is a movie that also, if you have not seen, just go in and prepare for a ride. So when this movie came up, I was already locked in. I didn't need to see a trailer because I enjoyed that experience so much. And I have to say, after seeing these two and Boots' other TV show, I'm a Virgo, I think even more than just this movie, because we'll talk about that a lot, I think Boots Riley is one of the more creative and innovative directors we have, especially American directors. I love that he spends his time creating really big and creative stories that are ostensibly Black stories, but are universal issues. And I think in Sorry to Bother You and I'm a Virgo, he specifically kept it within the Black community, even though it was universal. In this one, I think he expands it a bit more. And I loved the message in I Love Boosters. I thought the movie was just as fun as anything he's done. It is incredibly entertaining. It is laugh out loud funny. And I mean, we'll talk about some of the jokes that pop up that, I mean, I just saw it yesterday, still ringing in my head. And I know I'm going to watch this so many more times in the future. But I just wanted to spend my time saying that, yes, this movie is incredible, but I think Boots Riley is doing something that is so unique and so necessary for cinema.
Yeah.
And that is original stories that have a point, have a message, have a point of view, but doesn't sacrifice the fun in going to see a movie.
Wow, that was so well said. I just want to like take that and cut it and like blast it on all of the megaphones that we have because that was, yes, you captured all of that so perfectly, and who he represents in this industry right now that we really desperately need. Sarah, I'm curious your thoughts on I Love Boosters and how this landed with you. I know you were a huge fan of Boots Riley before going into this.
Yes, so very similar to Eric, I first learned about Boots Riley with Sorry to Bother You, a movie that I loved because it is bonkers and wild and out there, and it's just a great experience. And so, without knowing anything about I Love Boosters, I was already seated. I was like, yes, I need to go see this new Boots Riley film, and I had a blast. It is bright, it is colorful, it is beautiful. The set design, the costume design, the visuals, phenomenal. The score is also just so interesting and innovative. Great performances from everybody, but then, like you were saying, Eric, the message at the heart of I Love Boosters is so important, and the I love all of the different aspects that are in this film that you don't always see brought to the
Mm.
big screen. So I think that there's a lot of really great choices that he makes in this film that is unlike a lot of other things that we've seen. So innovative and so much fun with an important message. It's a great time.
Yes. Plus 1,000 to what you both shared. I was introduced to Boots Riley through Sarah, actually, because she was raving about Sorry to Bother You. And we do these top 10 lists of films we've watched from the past year at the end of every year. And I think Sorry to Bother You is like top five one year for you. And so we did this like episode where we traded watches, and Sorry to Bother You was the one that I watched because Sarah adored it so much. And I was like mind blown. The commentary on corporate America and racial dynamics and kind of codes, which was incredibly done while also being hilarious. And he's done it again. He's done it again. And I think what's really impressive to me is how Boots Riley has designed multiple layers to his works. So on the surface, they're really fun, and if that's all you take from it, it's a great time. There's plenty of like visual stimulation, there's incredible characters that you can fall in love with, and you can kind of get like layer 1 of like the meaning behind it all. But there's so many smaller details throughout the film that I think in upon more like contemplation and a closer look, like they all are so intentionally crafted to have even more nuanced commentary on some of those like maybe more subtle dynamics that are happening. And I think I Love Boosters is a great example of showcasing that like multi-layered experience that like it just kind of gets better the more you uncover it and the more you sit with it. But on the surface, it's also an incredible time. And the ability for any director to be able to do that, I think, is quite impressive. Like Bong Joon-ho is, I think, a great example of this. Parasite, worked for a lot of people. If you dig deeper, it works even more. If you dig deeper, the metaphors like kind of open up to you even more. And so I think that's what I Love Boosters felt like to me in the days since watching it. Is like the more that I thought about it, I was like, oh gosh, every detail actually is stringing together these deeper layered meanings that ring so true and are important for us to engage with. So I'm always fascinated by the intersection of like great art while still being mass palatable. And I think Boots Riley has figured out something here. And I hope he becomes even bigger than he is now. Like I hope he becomes a household name because I think people are like down for what he's doing and his tone. So we just need him give him more funds, give him more like budget to make stuff.
Yeah, there's some movies that you want to rewatch because of its entertainment value, and some movies you want to watch rewatch because it's important. And you're right, Boots in one movie he makes it for both reasons. Like as I am watching, I'm like I want to rewatch because I want to get every single little message, and I want to rewatch because I want to laugh as hard as I am right now at every single joke.
Yes, exactly. And the first watch too, I was like, I just know there's jokes that are passing over me, but I don't got time to like catch them all because I'm just laughing at the other one from like 20 seconds ago still. And yeah,
Yep.
the meat and the entertainment still getting better and more full as you kind of experience and sit with the film more. Sign of great work, man.
Well, and I also want to give a shout out to Neon, who is the production company for this film, because like there I've seen the trailer everywhere. I've seen ads on
Yeah.
social media everywhere. Boots Riley is all over my Instagram feed. Like they have put money into marketing this film. And so I just want to shout out them for doing that cuz like this is a movie that needs to be experienced in theaters. Yes, it will be fun to watch at home, but like wow,
Mm.
this is a great theatrical experience. And so I'm glad that Neon is actually investing the funds to get people to go see this in the theater.
Uh-oh, Neon, the new A24. The streets are talking. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so true. It's so true. I really appreciated Boots posted a video a couple of days ago, kind of like thanking everyone for enjoying the film. But I thought it was so notable what he said. He's like, it's getting sold out in a bunch of theaters. He's like, thank you all. So great. Love to see it. Um, but if it's sold out in a theater near you, don't wait to see it next weekend. Go and drive out to another theater because those ticket sales really help us. And I thought that was just like so interesting and fascinating and important to kind of lift the veil a little bit on like the business side of it and say, how this does this weekend will inform how it can continue to get seen and him willing to like encourage people to go and see this in theaters. He also mentioned too like this is a film that is better in a theater experience, so don't wait, go see it now with people. You also just need to see all this color awash on the biggest screen possible. Like that cannot be contained by your at-home TV. Like you need to just need like red and neon yellow like barreling at you from the biggest, brightest screen you can find. Yeah. Okay, let's give a spoiler alert. We mentioned earlier that I Love Boosters is a film that, gosh, you need to really go experience. But there's also so much once you've seen that we can now maybe more freely talk about, especially with some of the fun genre choices that happen in I Love Boosters. So if you haven't seen this yet, this is your spoiler alert. Go watch it. Go see it in the theater. Go see what this man is making because the creative genius is quite incredible. And we're diving fully in. So maybe we can start with there's so much to talk about here. And as we mentioned, it'll just get better the more we mull on it. But in the days, hours since seeing I Love Boosters, what is the one moment or scene or kind of theme that maybe is like kind of circling in your mind a little bit more prominently that you just find yourself like mulling back on again with I Love Boosters? Eric, I'm curious for you. What is that scene, moment, choice that I Love Boosters makes?
Yeah, I think so. The scene that is embedded in my head, or I guess maybe the scenes, is when they're fully in their sort of like full power of boosting. They have the machines, and I'm gonna mess up on the terminology of some. Part of the choices that I loved about this movie is that they introduce some wild science and then kind of yada yada it in such a fun way. Like they almost give us too much information, so our brains shut down and say it works. But I loved the choices, the fashion choices, the costume choices, the like quirky fun of them and their different outfits every time they like went to a new place. I just that sequence, that montage to me
Yeah.
sticks in my brain, and I'm like, this has. I mean, like this has to win best costuming. I just can't.
Yo.
Like I know there's going to be really period accurate things in like the Odyssey, and I love the crafts, or I'm going to love the crafts of Doom. But I'm looking at this, I'm just like, you can't tell me that this isn't the most creative costuming. So that scene, those scenes stick in my head. But I
Mm,
think the choice in the choice that then turns into the message that sticks with me is how much they dismissed. I should have gotten her name. I think the actress name is Eliza, but the other coworker who was trying to rally for and strike. I loved how throughout the movie they dismissed her several times. They are working on their own path, they have their own revenge, their own message. And I loved when they finally realized that coming together is the only way that any of them would be successful. Uh, I just, to me, that's the message of the movie. And again, they did it in such fun ways with how they dismissed her throughout. And then once it came together, that was the sentimental moment for me where I was like, oh man, I'm about to cry at this at this absurd movie. Like, is are tears coming to my eyes because they finally figured it out that this woman is more of a help than a hindrance. So that's the message slash choice that sticks with me.
So good. That's actually, I think, similar to the thing that I've been thinking a lot about after I Love Boosters is this is a depiction of the way that the US has divided people of color to keep them separate, and the unity that they have to work together to fight the throes of capitalism, that they truly discover they are better together by aligning their missions together. It is the thing that, like, I just keep thinking about after I Love Boosters and how powerful that is. And they don't all come together all at once. It's not overly sentimentalized, but there is this moment where they realize, like, we thought that we were all running in different directions, and actually we need each other. We need that device from over here, we need that insight from over here, and they wouldn't have accomplished what they could at the end without each of the pieces of the puzzle that came together. And we have seen the ways that people of color and the people at the bottom rungs of society often are pitted against each other in order to keep them separate and keep them weaker, so that the Demi Moore's character of the world can continue to reign. And this film is upending that idea to showcase how much they need each other and how much farther they can go instead of fighting their own battles themselves within their own small contained worlds, but that joining of forces across, like, the globe, like that scene where the end, they're cutting back and forth between the scenes at the factory and the scenes in America. It was just that was so striking to me. So that's the thing that I also was mulling on a lot as well, Eric.
Yeah, I think kind of similarly to that, I was really struck by how much time we spend with the factory workers in China. I feel like that's something that we don't often see brought to the big screen, or if we do see, people working in like a fashion factory, it's like the hero is then going to come in and liberate everyone. Like, I feel like that's generally the only time we see those kind of conditions on the big screen. So it's also cool to see them organizing and advocating for themselves, and to see them have that agency of like, I know this is wrong, and so we're going to come together and fight back. And then seeing, like you were saying, Jen, this like global struggle, we're in this together. And even like as a consumer, I feel like this is a really helpful movie to think through, like, the things that
Mm,
I purchase are not just affecting me and my bank account, but it has ripple effects. And like, okay, is this shirt that I bought, was this made by somebody in China working in inhumane conditions? Okay, let me think a little bit more about my life as a consumer, and the choices that I'm making with my money. So I just there's so much to this movie to just like chew on and mull on. And it's kind of amazing that there's so much in here, and it all feels cohesive, and they all kind of reinforce each other and kind of build upon each other.
mm.
Yeah, and there's, to Jen's point about how these folks at the top, or the Demi Moores
More is
of
more.
society, the
Sorry, Demi Moore.
billionaires. I know,
Yeah.
poor Demi Moore, but
She does an
the
amazing job
billionaires.
at her job.
She plays a great billionaire and a great nuanced villain.
Yep.
But they make it seem like these two different groups. So like the working class in the United States who's purchasing these goods, and then the working class in these different countries who are creating these goods. They do still pit us together, because the biggest pushback is, okay, you want better conditions in China. Guess what? You're going to have to pay more for it.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, and we're like, oh, well, I don't want to pay more because then that's going to hurt us. While we're all forgetting, you have billions of dollars. It actually doesn't need to be this expensive. You can pay
Yeah.
them more and just accept less profits and everything will work. So I think it is fascinating
Mhm.
that we see their struggle as being separate from ours. And almost there's a point where, like, if we help them, we need to now prepare for our struggle to increase because now prices are more expensive. And it's like, no, 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 no,
Yeah.
no. We all can actually rise if we're looking at the true opposition, who are the people who are hoarding wealth, whether that's the billionaire at the top or just corporations in general.
Mhm. Yeah, and it goes back to this like scarcity mindset idea that's pushed out from those at the top to say there is limited resources, so it's either you or them. If it's not you, then they're gonna have to pay for it, or you're gonna have to pay for it. And it's like, wait, that concept of what the pie is actually very different from what the real pie is. To your point, Eric, and without but without that dialogue, without that coming together, without that conversation, without those realizations between the people of color and their different mindsets, like those realizations couldn't happen without that dialogue. And so that's interesting to see the way that um, when the our crew meets Jiang Hu for the first time, they kind of like they're like, "Who are you?" I'm like, "What do you have?" And like, "Why are you taking this from us?" And she's like, "No, why are you taking this from me?" They're pitted as like, "Oh, we got someone else in the neighborhood that's competing with us in this," and then they realize, "Oh no, you got something, we got something. Let's do this together." But that they had to overcome that hurdle together. And it's only them kind of like kidnapping each other and colliding with each other that could even happen.
I thought that moment was so funny too because they think it's like a rival booster and like what like you're on our turf, like what are you doing? So then they
Mhm.
obviously kidnap her and then I love that it goes from this like silly heist thing to this like oh there is a much deeper and important message here that now we're going to go on. It's just I thought that that was a brilliant scene and just shows Boots Riley's ability to take a very comedic moment, but also have all of these layers of meaning underneath it.
Hmm.
And it goes to what Boots does well because the I think the shift in here is not as drastic as sorry to bother you, which I remember basically being like a horror film in the
Yeah.
theater. I was not ready for it, but it's not as drastic. But it is a shift because you're right. I thought going into this movie, this was just going to be about this group of boosters, and maybe
Mhm.
there's a rival, or then they learn to work together to steal all this stuff, and that's basically on the surface what it's going to be. So when they introduced the oh no, she represents a different part of this system that is
Yeah.
actually even below the part where you're fighting for, and you
Yeah.
haven't even thought of it. I thought that was incredibly intelligent. And then later on, I think we'll get to the almost sorry to bother you like switch with the skin suits and and everything. Which,
Oh my
but
gosh. Let's
yeah,
talk about it. Let's
let's.
talk about it because I think that is one of the most fun things that this movie did. And it's the thing that just rewind back to the beginning, like you it's better to go into this movie not knowing you about to see some sci-fi zombies running around town. And it's ridiculous, but also the underlying like ideas of there now there's commentary around AI and androids, and then also there's commentary on fashion and the idea of what we wear being a significant message and signaling like whose powers you're aligned to. Like, how is that all in there in this really fun, ridiculous? I love that they made visually them look also so like CGI'd, and like they didn't even try to make that look like realistic at all. And it's so much more like whimsical that way. So that switch was like such a fun genre bending moment. I'm curious how that like when you realized it was happening, what was going through your minds?
I feel like I was so giddy. With like giddy is the best word because I knew the movie had been. weird, and I can't remember exactly where it falls in terms of like all the other stuff that happens, but it was closer towards the end of the movie. So it had already gotten absurd. And I thought that's
Yeah.
all we were going to see. And when they started to unzip their skin, I I like kicked my feet with glee because I was like, I love that he's going there. And then the concept of these individuals, because they were all, I believe they were all, yeah, they were all black individuals who were then peddling these messages like, we love our bosses and I don't know, higher wages. That's just, haven't y'all heard of more money, more problems? Like, it was
Yeah.
so funny throughout the movie. And then to see that these people were like co opted by the man and the commentary on how these powers that be find individuals that look exactly like the people
Mm,
that they're trying to impress, or excuse me, oppress. And they like infuse these messages into whether it's society, music, culture, of how do we get you a bit more complacent. Uh, there is a line in there that
so
just
good.
cracked me up about the woman also playing Candace Owens, who is very much known within the black community of being this type of person. Is like, how much are you getting paid to trade who you are for this
Yeah.
message? And yeah, I just thought it was a silly, silly way to say something incredibly poignant.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I man, there's so much in this film, but I did not expect that propaganda would be the result of this fashion company. I didn't expect us going there, even though it kept like cutting to like clips on the TV. So I knew it was going to be important. I didn't think it would be that though.
Yeah.
And so I think that that's also really important given our media landscape and
Mm,
how we're consuming content. And it's like, okay, who owns those companies and
mm,
what message are they trying to share? And so I think there's a lot of really just really important, really timely things that are explored through those characters while also being unlike anything else we had seen in the film thus far. So it was also cool visually to see these
yeah.
skinless people just like running around, and it looks so out of place, so ridiculous. I Oh my gosh, I was laughing throughout the entire movie, but man, those really cracked me up.
Yeah.
I couldn't help because it both Sorry to Bother You and this movie takes place in the Bay Area. I couldn't help but just think this has to be in the same world. This has to like
Yes.
this the same people who are seeing these skin suits or skin people aren't phased because like, well, just a couple years ago we saw what else happened. So I just in my mind I was like, I'm glad that he didn't try to make like a reference in it, or maybe he did and we just got to watch it a
Missed
couple
it.
times.
Yeah.
But in my mind I'm like, this is par for the course for this society.
And interestingly, it being set in the Bay Area because of the like intersection of like technology and how it's infiltrating art too, which I think is like, yet again another incredibly meaty thing that he's somehow woven into here and is part of the like fabric of what he's made. Because I think the whole like explanation for the skin suits is that Demi Moore's character has revolutionized fashion, but ultimately she is a scientist as well. She's like the whole montage of like her being an MIT grad and a child genius, and so she is thinking that fashion is no longer limited to just the clothes you wear, but the very skins that you wear. And that is very much like relevant in our conversation right now as like AI and technology is infiltrating in what art gets made and how it gets made. And somehow, like, there, he clearly has a thesis around like the ability for technology to almost like interrupt and disrupt the way that art is authentically made, and it's like becoming twisted in this way. Like we don't know where the boundaries are anymore, and we're just like anything's fair game. So I thought that was a fun way to also introduce that idea in there. It's not, he doesn't spend too much time on it, but there's definitely this like idea of science. She is a scientist, she is a technologist, and now that is inspiring her art form, our artistic designs to be skin suits.
Oof. And so she's
Terrifying.
trying to use science to, oppress the people even further. The flip side, our heroes are using this scientific device that, Eric, you're totally right. They totally yada yada how it works, but they're using science to, help liberate the workers and all of that. So I do love this kind of like duality between the two. And she's trying to use it for shady stuff and harming people, but they're like, nah, we're going to use this thing and we are going to take all of this back. So that's also nice to kind of see that, like, no, we can use what's in our
Yeah.
hand to help, whether that's technology or science or art or whatever it is.
Yeah, it's kind of like how social media, or like you said, technology was once used to really bring people together and create these revolutions across the globe. And it seems like lately it's been mostly used, whether that's bots or whatever it may be, to try to divide people as far as possible. So, how do we get you all to hate each other rather than using it to come together?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. And it's neat to see it like showcased in the context of fashion, because I think we've seen that um people sounding the alarms of that for like storytelling and like video consumption, but even in the context of fashion, which is such a significant theme in this film. This film is ultimately like an incredible celebration of fashion and style and the importance of color and design and textures in our daily lives, and how we long for beauty. We long for that to be a mode of emotional expression. And it's cool because Boots is like an incredibly stylish dude. Like the man is always dressed to the nines. And so I feel like this film is also asking us to be like, how do we invest in this too for ourselves? Because I think that like if we look at the way that like fashion has evolved over time, we're definitely moving more towards like neutral tones and like muted color palettes. And I love that this is a celebration of color, and crazy styles and designs. And Boots clearly embodies that. I wonder if this is also his way to be like, we can be a little more crazy and playful, guys, and that it's important for us to emotionally express that way. Like the Kiki Palmer's character talks about how turquoise is a color she adores and she wears it every day, and it's this way to like showcase her identity in the world. So fashion as expression, fashion as protest. If I exist and I am here and I will be noticed. It's kind of a sub theme, just the whole film, the way it exists and what they're advocating for. Curious y'all's thoughts on like the color choices, the visual design, the costume and fashion aspects of this film.
Yeah, I think there's two things that stand out when it comes to the fashion aspect of this film. So first is, and I just saw, well, I rewatched Devil Wears Prada in preparation for Devil Wears Prada 2. And in Devil Wears Prada, the first one, Miranda talks about like, oh, you think you chose, I forget what it was. It was like that belt or that color
Cerulean.
or something. Yes, yes,
Yes.
cerulean. Yeah. But it's like, I did this, that then sourced this, that then eventually gets down to TJ
Mm,
Maxx, and you have this thought that you have this freedom of choice, but really I inflected that or
wow.
I influenced that. And I noticed that Demi Moore's character says something sort of similar, where she was talking about how the people are the art, and she was like, we could get an entire city in the state of Michigan to wear the same color red, and we can then look from a map and see a red dot and say, we did that. And the response to that was that the people want to be the artist and not the art. And to go sort of what you were saying, Jen, about the fact that Boots probably believes this, Kiki believed this, that fashion isn't just how what we put on our bodies, is how we can express ourselves creatively every single day. And if we are allowing these companies to basically influence our wardrobe with whatever is the cheapest dye of that time or whatever they
Mm,
think, we are giving up some of that little bits of creativity that we have in our lives. So using colors, getting trying to give people all the different colors and not just say you walk into the store and it's all yellow today, so that's all you can buy is a yellow item, or that's all you can wear, but giving them the entire spectrum of color and allowing them to choose what they wear. So I just thought you're right. I think Boots loves fashion, and he is a like very colorful, very fashionable guy. Uh, and that's a part of this, is that fashion isn't just what we put on our bodies, it's how we express ourselves.
Something that I hadn't thought of until you guys both started talking about this, and I could be wrong. I've only seen this movie once, so hopefully I'm not giving this information. But I don't think that we see Demi Moore's character in color ever. I think she's always wearing black and white and gray. Could be wrong. Could be wrong, but I think for the most part
Mm.
she is in black and white and gray, and so is her assistant, is usually wearing something gray. And so that's also a really interesting contrast, especially with, our boosters who are always wearing something colorful and creative and interesting, and no two outfits look the same. Whereas I feel like Christie's outfits are all pretty much the same, just like a slightly different cut, or, yesterday's was black and now it's gray, or now it's like black and white. And there's a it's very consistent. It'll just be like slightly different from one another. And so that's also a really interesting and intentional contrast in the costuming, to show the kind of like creativity and free expression that all of the boosters have, whereas Christy is very controlled and very put together, and it has to look this way. So that's just an interesting visual contrast. Yet another reason for me to watch this movie again, to make sure that I didn't miss anything the first time.
Yeah, that's fascinating. What I love about, there's a small moment where they're in one of Christie's stores, and I think like one of the designs that is picked up off the shelf, it's like this yellow leather like pantsuit almost, with these like spiky sleeves. And I think one of the boosters was like, yeah, but like that was my idea. I like changed up one of my fits last week to look like that. And now it's making its way to mainstream, and Christie's like using it to, be a product to be sold. But um there's this, yeah, interesting like counterbalance to the idea that, Christie is using fashion as control to get people to conform to her way of thinking, but also the true creativity often comes from these underground movements, these folks that are breaking outside of the bounds of the established order. By the time it becomes mainstream, it's honestly like already past the time when it was, the ideas were conceived, because like that cycle is so much longer. But it's those that are scrappy, that are using their scissors and their sewing machines, that are creating things and taking them to the streets and wearing those out, that often are kind of setting the trends, perhaps even more than those that are just like managing and shaping the trends. So kind of the trend setters versus the trend makers. Like Christie's a trend maker, but the trend setters are actually like even earlier in the life cycle, that are unbound by corporate like life cycles and the systems of pushing it out at the mass scale. So that I thought was a cool moment for one of the gals to look at that and see like, I made something like that like 2 months ago, and now it's finally on the shelf. But like I already came up with that idea. Satisfying to see, but also I think like indicative of these dynamics as well.
Yeah, and it seems like somebody like Christy, who we never actually see in any of these communities, is the one who's creating or influencing the trends in those communities, when in actuality she's stealing from people within it.
Yes.
Because the woman came into the store and saw that, and I think she said, she was like, damn, Christy always knows what the streets need. And it's like, Christy doesn't,
Yeah.
she saw what a design and stole it, and then gave it back to you, and now you think, oh, Christy is a like visionary.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, and that's such an important point too, because it's not even just that Christy is selling it back, but she's selling it back at a rate that nobody can afford too. And so I think that that's a really important piece of the film too.
Yeah. Yeah, the economics of it. And also I love that you mentioned that idea of like taking the ideas, Eric, from like those that have actually conceived the ideas and then making money off of those ideas. Well, that has been prevalent in like the American system for decades old as time, you know, is like taking the original talents and creativities and then exploiting them, selling them back to the masses. But the person that's benefiting is not like the ultimate, the like original creators. And therefore then the like financial wealth disparities, all of that is being portrayed in this way. So yeah, gosh, this there's so much in I Love Boosters. It's kind of wild. But Sam.
No, because we haven't we haven't even touched on whatever Lakeith Stanfield was
Yeah.
I have to say, because I saw a tweet or something that said Lakeith Stanfield will be Boots Riley's like Michael B. Jordan as he is to Ryan
Yep.
Coogler, because he was the main character in Sorry to Bother You. Did a fantastic job, kind of unlocked that weirdness Lakeith can bring. And then this one, he's more of a side peripheral character, but he can't help but still the scene when he's there. I still cannot figure out exactly why he's there, but I can say that I loved the weird twist. I loved everything about that character except for the fact that I can't parse where he fits.
Yeah, I have written in my notes, I don't know why Lakeith is in this movie, but I love that he is. I
Oh my
don't
god.
I don't know. I had a great time.
Yeah.
Don't know why he needed to be in this movie, but he was great and I loved it. But I was also like, how does this fit with all of this that's also happening? I don't understand. But maybe that's why we need to watch it again. Maybe it'll make more
Yes.
sense
Maybe.
upon rewatch.
I usually love me some like artsy fartsy metaphor symbolism stuff and like the exercise of being like, what does it mean? This one, and I love trying to like make some meaning out of it. This one, I don't know, man. I don't know, guys. Like,
The only thing I can think of, and I don't, and it feels so surface level that it has to be something more than just like, don't let a man mess up your your revolution. Like, leave these dusty men alone because they will suck away your energy and your power and
yes.
leave you nothing. So that's the only thing I can think of. It
Mm.
feels like there's
Mhm.
more. It feels like there's more with him being a demon and
Ah,
and needing someone to truly love him, and that's how he'll change back. I don't know if that's true or it sounds like something that a demon would say, but
right?
I couldn't figure out anything besides keep your eyes on your prize and don't let these men mess you up. It's just you, your girls, your mission. Push them all, push all the guys away.
Yeah. I watched this people are making reels like cutting together his scenes and they're just like, "Oh my god, I think Lakeith is maybe the hottest man alive in this few moments he's in this movie." And like if that's what this is for, she's like, "But get the butts and seats, use it for the marketing."
Yeah,
She do it, you know? He
it's
has a great
working.
smolder. It is incredible that smolder.
He really
Those
does. He has
eyes.
like such good contrast in his, because there's so many
Yeah.
close-ups and like his
Yeah.
skin with the like black jet black beard and his eyes.
Oh,
Like there's something about him that's just is like the contrast between the brown and the black just is perfect. Uh,
and his eyes
but
are speaking like 10,000 lines of poetry at once as they stare dead into the camera, into your soul. Shoot, I'm like,
and
yeah,
look at
he's
us falling for it. Stop it. Stop right now. Don't look in his eyes. He's not good
nope,
for you.
not good for you. Well,
Not at
it's
all.
What's great is that Boots plays with that because like there's so many of the scenes where he's like doing his smolder and then it'll like hard cut to like, all right, I gotta go now. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, bye.
Yep.
You're just like, oh wait, that was not a slow dissolve out of that moment of being in a trance state. He's like, and I gotta go. Sorry. And it's like hard cut to like a wide shot. And he's just like doing his little turn down the street
But
to walk
Kiki was
away.
get she was falling for it. She was, I mean,
Yeah.
talk about Kiki being such a, and what was her character's name? Kiki Palmer's character. Do you remember?
Corvette.
Corvette, yes. Corvette, extremely charismatic, well spoken, quick on her feet woman. She was fumbling over her words. I think she said that she liked his gloves at one point, and I was like, that's, oh, what kind of compliment is that as he's walking away? So she was falling for his looks.
hmm I don't blame her,
Which,
man. I don't
yeah,
blame
can't blame her.
her.
Yes. Uh, I like your explanation better, Eric, but my thought of why his character was in here, I still don't understand why he's a demon. I I have no answers for that. But I think because he says multiple times that like I'm lonely just like you. He says it more eloquently than that. And so it's this recurring theme of her
Yeah.
loneliness and her isolation. And she talks about that multiple times of like she can feel alone in a room and all of these things. But then by the end, he reiterates that again, like I'm lonely just like you are. And that's when she walks away because she's no longer lonely because she is now part of this like mission and this movement. And so like he, in addition to having a great smolder, is showing, you know, her emotional growth. And
That's good.
I don't know, that is a victory for that character. But I like
I
your
love
explanation
that.
better. I think yours is
We get
also fun.
we can combine the two
Yes.
Yeah.
explanations. These dusty men will try to woo you with I'm a loner too. And once you commit to your relationships with your friends, your girls, your mission, you can see them for the demons that they are. So
Hey,
that's
yes.
that's what it is. I did like one of Lakeith's lines was around, he was trying to figure out why he was in a Target. And I thought, I laughed so hard because it was such a long moment where he kept saying, I was in a Target. Why would I be in a Target? What was I doing in that Target? As almost this like very meta point to say, hey, we're still boycotting Target, just so you know, like, want to do a
Yep.
real world corporation that we're still boycotting,
Mm.
striking, trying to get to meet our demands. Target is one. So I thought that was a perfect usage of like product, almost reverse product placement. Is I'm going to say this company's name a million times to remind you all he shouldn't have been in that Target, and neither should you.
It was such a good moment. Oh my gosh. I laughed way too hard at that part. Oh, it was so perfect. And it goes on for so much longer than you expect.
Truly, I was at some point. You're like, keep on with the story. I don't think it matters where you were.
Yes.
But Boots was like, "Nah, man, you gotta. I need to make sure the people, the public knows. Let us not forget." Um, one of the recurring scenes that I love, I found so interesting, is Demi Moore's slanted apartment. I thought this talk about like metaphorical ideas being expressed visually in such an interesting way. She can exist in that apartment where the floor is at a 45-degree angle, but no one else can functionally like exist comfortably or well in that place. The workers, the coffee shop worker that comes in when Corvette, Kiki Palmer's character, comes in, they cannot even walk. And it's such a great visual way to showcase, like, in the stratospheres of those that are completely disconnected from reality, like, there is a level of discomfort, there's a level of, like, truly being unable to physically survive in those worlds. And they intentionally design it that way to keep you unable to like be on the same plane with them and and exist in this world in the same way. Like the entire rules of the world are different and they're designed to keep you out and to keep you uncomfortable. And I thought that was such an interesting like visual way to just like slant the building because she can. But just seeing everyone like struggle to even get back out the door and like walk across the room, I'm like, oh, that physical like representation is so accurate to like what it feels like emotionally when you're like around people that you're like, I know that like this whole environment is not designed for me to exist in, intentionally so. And I thought that was so fun. It made for some really hilarious visual moments and so it like just so interesting to look at.
I love that take on it because I don't think I processed that part of it. You're right. It's visually interesting to look at, and visually silly, like a silly gag. But you're
Yeah.
right that everybody else in that environment felt uncomfortable. Even the people who worked for her and like seemed like they were a little bit more, they were more used to it. But you know that they're sitting there having to brace their core or they're leaning
Yeah.
over. Yeah, that is fascinating that she specifically built that space so everyone else remembers you're in my territory and you're not on the same playing field as me.
Yeah.
Well, and it's also interesting that her home is also her workspace too. So that's another
Ooh.
interesting thing that I hadn't thought of until right now, is that she has all of her, the designers and the people that are making this stuff in this place that is so uncomfortable for them, intentionally so. That's really interesting.
Yeah, I didn't think about that too. Also indicative like homegirl's got no boundaries. Like just her work is her identity. This is a system of control and she needs it to like feel good about herself. Demi Moore, we got to talk about Demi Moore. She's been picking her roles very intentionally recently and she's hitting them out of the park. She does an amazing job doing this thing in her eyes where she's smiling at you or she's giving this like positive energy, but her eyes are like shooting daggers. And I feel like that's very accurate for that archetype. Killing you
Yeah,
with the
she
smile.
she does such a good job of being like this charismatic leader that you want to smile upon you. Like she doesn't, and again, I need to watch it again, but I don't. She doesn't yell that often at like her workers or things, but she is very cold and direct and
Yeah.
very like very calculated. But then when she smiles and when she gives a compliment, or when she even when she looked at her like protege and said like one day you're going to own, so like you're gonna own this. There's this moment in me that I'm like, oh, she does like see some people as people, and she does have folks that she's like trying to impart wisdom on. It made me soften just a little bit, and then of course the movie then immediately shows her doing something callous that helps me not soften. But that's why I thought it was a nuanced portrayal of a billionaire, because and even when she got caught she was like, why me, like why am I the one that you went after? Because she in her mind like I'm just like I'm a fashion mogul, there's so many other corporations that are worse than me. Which is probably how they all feel, even though they are harming society like in a major way. If you are around those people, they probably don't see themselves as the villain in this story, and she definitely did it.
I think another interesting piece of Christie's character is she swears all the time. And none of it felt natural to me though. Like it all felt like this like forced thing, part of her persona or her brand image, but it didn't feel like authentic or natural to her. And so I found that really interesting that that deliberate creative choice was in there to make her seem, I don't know, more edgy or
Yeah.
whatever as part of her persona, but like I don't know, it felt wrong to me every time.
Like, who is Christy when she doesn't have this hat on? Like,
Yeah.
who is this woman who thinks that she's creating art? Like, that's she thinks she's bringing art to the world. That's her mission.
And it was interesting to see those like micro jabs that um is very much prevalent in like girl world. So when Corvette goes into her apartment, working workspace, and she's so genuinely sharing like, I love turquoise, it's my favorite color, I wear it every day. Like it's this like really sweet moment of her just being like sharing something she's excited about. And of course Christy has to be like, yeah, but that's not turquoise. That's aquamarine. And you're just like, okay, fine, thank you. But it's such a like aggressive moment, but masked in these subtle little ways, and like the way that women do that is like, I don't know, Boots Riley is maybe also like deeply understands women, because like that is exactly how that would play out. It's like the little smile, the little jab, but like she just has to one up her at the end of that conversation. And it's the small little detail, but she has to show, I know more than you, and I'm going to tell you what color that is. You don't get to have that. It was crazy. I was like shriveling in my seat, but very accurate. Good job, Boots Riley. Like, that's how that would go.
I also love that it's this way of like this, I mean, really random stranger is like pouring out her heart around fashion, which I also think is really interesting that like art and creativity can like bring so much out of you that otherwise wouldn't. I mean, that's why we
Yeah.
have this whole podcast. But like she's sharing this thing that's so deeply personal. And then Christy is like, nope, shut down. You're wrong. Go
Wrong
away.
color.
Like, it's such a
No.
tonal shift. And I'm like, do you
She
even know how to interact with a human? Like, what is this? So it's such a
She
great moment.
power play.
she straight up said like this isn't story time or something when he like yanks us out of the flashback. She was like, this isn't story time. And that's actually Aquamarine.
Yeah. Um, any other big moments, decisions, choices that I Love Boosters makes that we wanted to make sure to shout out before we wrap? Any other things that you're like, God, I can't end the episode without me talking about this?
I feel like the only other thing that pops into my mind is just maybe a little bit about the other boosters, which if I had a criticism for the film is that I kind of wanted more of the other ones.
Yes.
I think Naomi's character, she gets the most out of the other ones because she seems to be Corvette's like right hand woman. She's sort of the woman that pushes back on Corvette. She's not afraid to speak up to her. And I loved her character, and I thought she was phenomenal with
Yeah.
the role that she had to play. Taylor Page's character is sort of a little bit, I guess she's painted
Right.
as flighty, but and I wish we knew more about her. Like I don't think we actually, and maybe we did, but I have to watch it again. Do we get the backstory of why these three women are friends slash together?
No,
Oh,
I don't
okay.
think so.
So
Yeah, I would have liked
yeah,
that
and
too.
I would have loved something that gave the other characters a little bit more of a full life.
Yes.
But I thought that the actresses did fantastic in their roles.
I agree. I think that the world that's built, the plot and the story arc that we go on is so rich. The thing that I remember feeling in the theater is like, I wish I knew who these characters were a little bit more. And because it's a group dynamic too, having them each be like a little bit more saturated in their different personality types would have allowed their group dynamic to be more interesting. So there were a couple scenes, like especially in the like opening third, where I was like, I'm trying to like keep straight what distinctive traits are I've learned about each of them, because they kind of are like one crew to me, instead of three gals, very different personality types that are colliding with each other trying to do this hard thing together. But kind of that like group dynamic could have been like, I just played up a little bit more. But it still works, the film still works, but we love it. We love a good like crew of buddies that are figuring stuff out, and things go wrong and they're blaming each other and it's funny. So just a little bit more like detail in their personalities would be great.
I have just two quick shout outs that I would like to give. One is to Will Poulter for his performance as the manager. It's he's so funny. It's just like pitch perfect the entire time. He strikes the right tone. He's appropriately ridiculous, appropriately callous and menacing when he needs to be. Like, just what a great addition to this film. And he's just making really interesting choices with the roles that he's choosing, and I'm here for it. And then the other shout out that I would like to give is, I mean, obviously the costumes are fantastic in this entire film, but one choice that I loved is after Corvette talks about turquoise and what it means to her, and then they go to their little pop up that they're having, and Lakeith shows up and he's wearing a turquoise shirt. And I thought that that was such a brilliant costuming choice because we know what that color means to her. And so if he's wearing that with his smolder, like that must be even harder to walk away from. So I thought that that was brilliant.
All roads lead back to lead back to Lakeith.
Lakeith. Yo. Well,
Oh
those
my
are the
god.
I didn't even pick up on that, but those are the type of details that I think are going to get so much more like rich and exciting with more rewatches of I Love Boosters. Those like intentional symbolic choices that are either funnier or more
Mhm.
meaningful because we now have kind of the Velcro base of this film and we can see everything that Boots is doing. Yeah.
Agreed. Phenomenal movie.
Yeah.
Sarah, I think you said at the beginning that the score also grabbed you, and that's one of the things. I mean, the opening scene, like from the very opening scene, whatever song was playing, this is a reminder for me to look that up. Whatever song was playing and just watching Kiki like move through that party, I immediately was like, I'm in great hands. Whatever we're about to watch is about to be
Yeah.
kinetic, it's about to be fun, it's about to be interesting because of how they match music to like movement and fashion in this. And then it continued through the whole movie.
Absolutely. Boots has described this film as a vibe film, and I feel like that is so accurate. And I hope that the appreciation for I Love Boosters just grows with time. I feel like it's like regardless of the story, even I just want to like be in this visual space and just like ride the wavelength of whatever he is doing in this movie. And that type of film often can do really well with longevity because all you want to do is go back and hang out and be in this headspace together. The music, the visual color, the character dynamics, the humor. And so I hope this is like one of those that just like people just like throw on I Love Boosters, like put that on the background. Like it's gonna be good whether you're sitting down watching it, whether you've just got it on in the background because it's the 50th time you've watched it and you know every scene. Like it's got that it factor, I think. Which I think, yeah, it'll be fun to see what happens next. And the industry, just give this man money, give this man more budget. Like he has so much to tell. He told a bunch about corporate America. I thought there was a scene with Will Poulter with the corporate speak and turning up the music thing that was very like sorry to bother you coded, which was really great. So he's like thinking about these like um, parts of our society and like what else is he going to do next? What has he got to say about like I don't know, our interior design spaces, the like, what other things is he looking to tackle next? There's plenty for him to work with in our world. So that'll be fun to see. All right. Well, this is our review and discussion of I Love Boosters. Thank you so much, Eric, for joining and being part of this. This is awesome. And a film that like begged to be talked about, and you were the perfect person for it. So thank you for spending time with us.
Thank you for thinking of me. Because I love talking about this. And if we ever have a part two to talking about this years
Yes.
later, if we do a revisit, I'll be right here for it.
Yes. I love it. I love it. I love it. Where can people find more of you on the internet? Follow more of your movie content, your reviews. You've been doing a lot of good stuff lately. So share where people can
Thank
find
you. So you can find me on Instagram or Threads on E Squared Reviews. So that's E Squared _reviews. And that's where I do my written reviews and my video content.
Mm-hmm. The video content has been like the new thing as of late, and it has been awesome. Like you are killing it It is so dynamic and so engaging, and it's like now I read your written reviews with like your voice in behind us and reading them all. It's very fun. So go check out Eric. Yeah, we'll include links in the show notes where we can find him. Go follow him. Just incredible human, and the movie takes are also really fun, exciting, and very insightful. So go follow more of Eric. All right. Well, this was our episode today. Stay tuned on the feed. We'll have more coming out soon. It's about to be summertime, so there's always just like big IP blockbuster stuff coming out that we'll be covering. So stay tuned on the feed. We hope everyone has an amazing week, and we'll see y'all back here very soon. Thank you for listening to today's episode of Movies and Us. We are part of the Movie Archer podcast network, so check out moviearcher.com to learn more.
Our name sums it up. We're all about movies and the powerful ways we can connect with each other and the world around us. This podcast is about all of us and our shared stories.
You can subscribe to this podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you tune to your favorite shows. Drop us a rating and review, letting us know your thoughts about today's episode.
Connect with us on Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky at Movies and Us Pod, or email us at moviesanduspod@gmail.com. Check out our website, andusmedia.co, for the latest on Movies and Us and our other podcast, TV and Us.
We hope you have an amazing week, and we can't wait to see y'all very soon.